Good day, I'm Jervin Q. Latayada, DIT Section B. Right now, I'm discussing occupational health hazard and their health effects. Exposure to the different hazard in the workplace can cause problems with health which may bring about disease or death. This module aims to give you basic knowledge on the health effects of the different hazard encountered in the workplace and the means to prevent such occurrences. It is important to understand the key concept in the causation of disease from work exposure. You will be defining the following terms in the course of this module: exposure, toxicity, hazard, and risk. You also wish to emphasize that hazard in the workplace can cause harm if there is undue exposure through elevated workplace concentration without control measure in place. Occupational disease and work-related illness can be prevented. It is important to have health programs in place which allow for screening susceptible individuals and early diagnosis of diseases to prevent progression of an illness, or to immediate control workplace hazards so that optimum workers' health is maintained. Objectives: working on this module should help you to explain the key concept of occupational health, discuss and explain common hazards in the workplace and their effects on workers' health, describe the role of medical surveillance in preventing occupational illness and injuries, identify ways to protect oneself from health hazard, workplace hazard and ill health. The main thrust of the concept occupational health is to emphasize prevention of occupational diseases and work-related illness rather than its cure. Technical and ethical guidelines for worker health surveillance, OSH series number 0.72, shows the recent changes in occupational health. With technical progress, more sophisticated means for investigation, greater emphasis on prevention, and holistic approaches on primary health care, human rights, and organization aspects are now available. This has led the Joint International Labour Organization or World Health Organization Committee on Occupational Health to redefine the concept of occupational health during its 12th session in 1995. Under these new circumstances, a tripartite ILO committee of experts used the definition as a starting point to develop guidelines for adapting workers' health surveillance to these changes. The purpose of health surveillance needs clarification, and individual and collective health assessment must be combined. Workers' health surveillance must operate under controlled, well-organized conditions, preferably in accordance with the ILO Occupational Health Services Convention. This convention sets general principles on occupational health practice and how to establish and run health services. Be based on sound ethical and technical practice. Ensure professional independence and impartiality of health professionals as well as workers' privacy and confidentiality of individual health information. Definition of occupational health. Occupational health has been defined by the ILO and the WHO as the promotion and maintenance of the highest degree of physical, mental, and social well-being of workers of all occupation. Prevention among its workers of departures from health caused by their workers' condition. Protection of workers in their employment from risks usually from factors adverse to health. Placing and maintenance of the worker in an occupational environment adapted to his or her psychological ability. As you know, occupational health encompasses the social, mental, and physical well-being of workers in all occupations. It includes the protection of workers from illness arising from work through promotion of safety health programs. It should always be priority to adapt the work to the human being. Poor working conditions have the potential to affect a worker's health and safety. Poor working conditions can affect not only the workers but their families, other people in the community, and the physical environment. Exposure to this health is most often the cause of ill health and the what you want to avoid. Eliminating exposure to hazard removes the condition for ill health and, and its negative consequences while you are at work. The ill health that results from exposure to harmful environment condition in the workplace is explained in this flowchart. Exposure, potentially harmful agents. Response, normal or altered body response. Result, homeostasis or disease. Key concepts in occupational health. You should realize that predisposition of a worker to suffer from an occupational illness depends on the characteristic of exposure to a hazard and on the individual's susceptibility. Not all workers exposed to hazard get sick. For example, some workers become deaf because of noise only after prolonged and frequent exposure to high level of noise over many years. Remember that worker hazard can potentially cause harm to workers. However, the risk or the likelihood that these harmful effects would take place depends on the condition of exposure. These factors include intensity and duration of exposure to the hazard, timing of exposure, multiplicity of exposure. Exposure duration of length of time of being vulnerable to work hazard. Constant exposure to amounts which have low levels in the workplace over prolonged period of time increases the risk of diseases after a latency period to a hazard. Magnitude level dose exposure as the concentration of amount of a hazard is increased, the likely and can be do more harm. 3. Timing of exposure. This is related to exposure duration. A worker who is exposed to a hazard continuously or several periods in a day is more at risk than those with less exposure. Number 4. Multiplicity of exposure. Exposure to mixtures, hazard, or several chemicals at the same time can cause synergistic or cumulative effects. Despite having similar exposure to workplace, workers may be affected differently due to non-occupational factors. In smoker, for instance, clearance dust that have entered the lungs is inhibited, thereby increasing the risk of succumbing to the ill effects of the hazard. The non-occupational factors that must be considered include age, sex, genetic factors, previous medical history, and lifestyle habits of the worker. Age is an important factor since elderly and young workers have poor metabolic process, which allow a buildup of toxic substances. In a normal adult, these substances can be easily neutralized. Sex is a very important consideration too. A hazardous agent may be toxic to female workers and not toxic to male workers or vice versa. For pregnant women, some toxin may cause development problems in the fetus. Lead and mercury have been documented to cause neurological defects in offspring of exposed pregnant women. In both men and women, other toxins may affect their reproductive system. The genetic makeup of a worker should also be considered because those with history of allergies will find it difficult to work in an environment where their allergies would likely flare up. Also, those with enzyme deficiencies may not be able to handle toxic substances that enter the body. Your medical history is important to identify previous illness which may be aggravated by substances or agents found in the workplace. An anemic worker will be employed in a company using lead may continue suffering from anemia due to a lead exposure. A worker diagnosed with a liver disease should closely monitor if he or she would be working with solvents which may compromise the liver function. Lifestyle factors such as smoking, alcohol consumption, physical inactivity, unhealthy diet, drug abuse, among other can alter workers' natural defense mechanism and increase the chance of developing ill effects. For example, higher risk of liver disease in a worker exposed to solvent and history of alcohol consumption, or increased risk of hypertension in worker with occupational stress who is also eating high salt and high fat diet. The risk of lung cancer is much greater in workers who have workplace exposure to asbestos fiber and who will also smoke. Health effects of chemical hazard. Workers are exposed to various chemicals in the workplace. These chemicals have inherited toxicities that can potentially harm humans depending on amount that has entered the body and the condition of exposure. Here are some concepts you must understand. Toxicity is the intrinsic capacity of chemical agent to adverse affect an organism, including humans. Toxic chemical is the agent that can cause the adverse effect. Hazard is the potentially for the toxicity to be realized in a specific setting or situation. Exposure refers to process or extent that workers experience or comes in contact with particular hazard in the workplace or as a result of one occupation. Dose is the amount of toxic agent that has entered the body. Risk is the probability or chance of specific adverse effect to occur. Points to consider regarding inhalation. Although the body filter may be many of normal pollutants from the air a person breathes, it cannot eliminate every type of contaminant. Small particles are difficult for the body to eliminate. It can get deep into the lungs where they can cause respiratory problems. Workers in industry occupation are more susceptible to respiratory diseases than workers in non-industry occupation. Chemical in their various forms can be inhaled and damage various target organs, as well as the lungs. Points to consider regarding skin absorption of substances. The skin is a major route of entry of hazardous substances in the workplace. Chemical can be absorbed faster through inflamed or abraded skin, but solvent may also be absorbed in healthy skin into bloodstream and transported to target organ where they can have damaging result. Points to consider regarding entry of hazardous agent through the mouth. Hazardous agent can enter the body by being ingested or swallowed, usually through involuntary action which you may not be aware of, such as through smoking, eating and contaminated materials in the workplace, or eating with unwashed hands. Although some ingested hazardous agents are neutralized in the stomach, others are absorbed into the bloodstream and transported to the target organs. The most important method to prevent is personal hygiene. You must ensure that you have access to washing facilities and that food storage and dining areas are separate from your work areas to avoid contamination with hazardous agent. The effect may be seen immediately or may show up months or years after the exposure. Again, the effect will depend on the type of the chemical, the route of entry, and the degree of exposure. Target organ toxicity occurs when disease states or adverse health effects manifest in a specific organ, system, or the body. The different organ-specific toxic effects are blood toxicity, dermal toxicity, adverse effect on the skin, eye toxicity, hepatotoxicity, adverse effects on the liver, immunotoxicity, adverse effects on immune system, nephrotoxicity, adverse effects on the kidney, neurotoxicity, adverse effects on the brain or nerves outside of the brain, Reproductive toxicity, adverse effect on the reproductive system. Respiratory toxicity, adverse effect on the lungs. Organ-specific diseases that may arise from chemical exposure in the workplace. Diha causa, causative agent, industry, target organ, disease. In causative agent, mercury, lead, industry, battery, chemical industries. Target organ is kidney. Disease, chronic renal failure. Cadmium industry, battery. Target organ, kidney. These seven causative agent can be targeted the organ. Targeted organ is kidney. Inorganic dust, mining, sandblasting, coal mining, construction industry. Respiratory system. The organ that we targeted is respiratory system. Pneumoconiosis, silicosis, asbestosis. Hemflux, textile industries. Respiratory system. Plastic exposes, plastic varnish, immune system, skin. Allergic contract dermatitis. Sodium hydroxide acids, chemical industry, laundry business. Cement constructions, cement manufacturing. Irritant or contact dermatitis, burns, irritation, contact dermatitis. This is organ-specific disease that may arise from chemical exposure in the workplace. This is the example. This. Health effects of physical hazard, noise, extreme of temperature, inadequate illumination, radiation, and vibration are among the physical hazard that workers experience in their environments. Noise. Although some claims that noise is subjective, you cannot deny that damage results from the intensity of noise, the duration of exposure to loud sounds in work environment. For hearing impairment is also and type of noise. Very loud sounds such as blast may be immediately disturb the eardrum and affect the level of hearing. Intensity in noise can range from even quietest sounds to the loudest bearable noise. The range of permissible noise exposure in the Philippines is found below. This is the example. Duration per day or hours. Sound level. Heat is a form of thermal energy which may come from body metabolism, increased physical activities, radiation from hot objects, or from the sun, and byproduct of industrial processes. To keep the temperature at stable level, the amount of heat gained by the body must be equal to by the amount lost. Heat loss happens through convection, radiation, conduction, and evaporation. In the cold in the Philippines, exposure to cold environment only occurs in certain work areas, ice plant and freezers in the food industry. Being a tropical country, the Philippines does not present cold stress as severe occupational hazard but still an important OSH issue in some sectors. Cold exposure and the associated behavior and psychological reaction have an impact on human performance and at various levels of complexity. Mild exposure implies no or negligible body core cooling and moderate cooling of the skin and extremities. Severe exposure result in negative heat balance, a drop in core temperature, and concomitant pronounced lowering of temperature of the extremities. Radiation, non-ionizing and ionizing. Different radiation energy comprise the electromagnetic spectrum. Areas occupied by ionizing radiation have the shortest wavelength and generates the highest energies. On the other hand, non-ionizing radiation is characterized by longer wavelength and lower energies. Ionizing radiation is capable of producing ion pairs by interaction with matter. Ionizing radiation differs from other forms of radiant energy in being able to deposit enough localized energy in an absorbing material to disrupt atoms and molecules and produce ions and free radicals that cause biochemical changes. Alpha particles, beta particles, neurons, neutrons, X-ray, and gamma rays are examples of ionizing radiation. In non-ionizing radiation or NIR, there is not enough energy to cause ionization of matter. The type of NIR are ultraviolet rays, infrared, laser, microwave, radio frequency, extremely low frequency, and static field. They have distinctive features depending on their wavelength. Different processes in the workplace can produce NIR. Apart from sunlight, building is another source of UV. Sources of RF and MW radiation include radio emitters and cell phones, while sources of IR are furnace, heat lamps, and IR lasers. Exposure to NIR may also affect the body organ systems. The usual target organ for UV or ultraviolet radiation is the skin and cornea of the eyes, and the effects may be skin redness, premature skin, aging, and skin cancer. Eye injury may be manifest as cataract, retinal injury, and a type of conjunctivitis known as Wilder flash and flared affects the eyes and may cause corneal and conjunctive burns, retinal injury, and cataract. Lasers are potential hazard also to both the skin and eye. Other forms of NIR may cause current conduction in heat. Vibration is a physical factor that causes mechanical oscillation. It affects it affects workers when the mechanical energy is transmitted to the body. There are two types of vibration: general or whole body vibration and local or segmental vibration. Workers operating heavy equipment or driving buses or trucks are exposed to general or whole body vibration. Workers using pneumatic or powered hand tools such as drills, grinders, chainsaws are exposed to local or segment vibration. Exposure to whole body vibration can cause discomfort or cause injury. It also it is also associated with elevated health risks for low back pain or workers exposed for many years to intense full body vibration. Stomach, stomach problems, headache, and muscle pains have been reported among workers with occupational exposure to whole body vibration. Illumination. Proper lighting or illumination of the workplace is important to have safe and healthy workers. Signs that are lighted properly decrease the risk of accidents. Adequate illumination improves productivity by ensuring that the details of the task can be easily seen by the worker, thereby decreasing errors and wastage of materials. It is not only the quantity of light in the work area that is important for optimum vision but the quality as well. For example, shadows and silhouettes can be produced by improper light sources or light distribution that is not uniform. Inadequate illumination may cause visual complaints among workers and cause productivity problems. The usual complaints after working in poorly lighted areas are visual fatigue, double vision headaches, painful irritation, redness of the eyes or conjunctives, and frequent tearing of lacrimination. Health effects of biological hazard. Biologic hazard are plants, animals, and their products that may present risk to the health of person infected by biologic agent they carry. Such biologic agents such biologic agents are classified as bacteria, virus, fungi, and parasite depending on their physical and other cellular characteristics. For example, bacteria and fungi have cell walls while viruses do not. Tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is at the top of the list because it remains one of the most prevalent illness affecting Filipinos. It is among the leading causes of morbidity and mortality based on Philippine health statistic and Field Health Service Information System. Tuberculosis is a long-standing infection caused by the bacteria Mycobacterium tuberculosis. The TB bacteria usually attack the lungs but can also attack any part of the body such as kidney, spine, brain, bones, and intestine. If not treated properly, TB disease can be fatal. TB, primarily an airborne disease. The bacteria is spread from person to person in tiny microscopic droplets or aerosol, with a TB sufferer forces air from his or her lungs when coughing, sneezing, speaking, singing, or laughing. A person then inhales the bacteria vigorously expelled from the lungs of an active TB patient. A person needs only to inhale a small number of these to be infected. HIV and AIDS. Another biologic hazard that has an impact in the workplace is HIV and AIDS. True workers in the manufacturing sector are hardly exposed to this virus by the nature of their work. The human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV, is the cause of acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or AIDS, a condition in which progressive failure of the immune system allows life-threatening opportunistic infection and cancers to thrive. HIV belongs to a group of viruses known as retroviruses. Once inside the human body, the virus attacks the cell of immune system, especially the CD4 plus helper cells. The virus uses the helper cell cellular materials or genetic materials to replicate itself, consequently killing the helper cell. The body tries to keep up by making new cells or trying to contain the virus, but eventually the HIV wins out and progressively destroys the body's ability to fight infection and certain cancers. HIV is a present blood, semen, vaginal fluids, and breast milk of an infected mother in infectious quantity. Contrary to popular misconception, HIV is difficult disease to get. For HIV to be transmitted, the following three conditions must be met. HIV must be present. Infections can only happen if one of the person involved is infected with HIV. Some people assume that certain behaviors such as anal sex cause AIDS even if HIV is not present. This is not true. There must be sufficient quantity of HIV. The concentration of HIV determines whether infection may happen. In blood, for example, the virus is very concentrated. A small amount of blood is enough to infect someone. A much larger amount of the other fluids would be needed for HIV transmission. Blood contains the highest concentration of the virus, followed by semen, then by vaginal fluids. Breast milk can also contain a high concentration of virus, but in this situation, transmissibility depends on who and how. An adult can ingest a small amount of breast milk at no probable risk, but an infant with his or her very small body and newly forming immune system consume vast quantities of breast milk relative to his or her body weight. Therefore, an infant is at least from breast milk, whereas an adult may not be. 3. HIV must get into the bloodstream. It is not enough to be in contact with infected fluid to become infected. Healthy unbroken skin does not allow HIV to get into the body. It is excellent barrier to HIV infection. HIV can only enter the bloodstream through an open cut or sore, or through contact with mucous membranes or damaged tissue in the anus and rectum, the genitals, the mouth, and the eyes, or be directly injected from the needle or syringe. You cannot get HIV from kissing, hugging, casual contact, drinking from the same glass, eating together, swimming pools, public toilets, pets, and mosquito bites. HIV is not transmitted through casual, everyday contact. Since HIV is not transmitted by saliva, it is impossible to get it through sharing a glass of a fork, a sandwich, or fruit. The chemical used in swimming. Tetanus. Tetanus, commonly called lockjaw, is another illness caused by a bacteria, toxin, or poison from the spore of the bacterium Clostridium tetani. Tetanus affects the nervous system and is characterized by an increase in muscles tone causing painful spasm. Lockjaw is one of the usual manifestations of untreated tetanus infection. Severe spasm and convulsions may occur which can lead to death if not treated early. Health effects of ergonomic stresses. The International Ergonomic Association or IEA Executive Council in 2000 defined ergonomics or human factors as the scientific discipline concerned with the understanding of the interaction among humans and the other elements of a system, and the profession that applies theory, principle, data, and methods to design in order to optimize human well-being and overall system performance. The three main goals of ergonomic are to make work safe and humane, to increase human efficiency, and to create well-being. The worker is affected by the following factors at work: tools, workstation, task, environment, and organization. A balance must be maintained where one looks at the capabilities, and limitation of the worker with the work system. With an imbalance of all these factors, effect on workers' performance and their health occurs, which may lead to low product quality, high rate errors, materials and equipment loss of waste or wastage, including musculoskeletal and other systematic disorder. An example of musculoskeletal disorder arising from ergonomic stresses is carpal tunnel syndrome, which arises from the median nerve compression in the wrist and secondary to repetitive flexion of the wrist. That's the end of our discussion. Thank you.